On today's episode of InCity HotSpots, Biz Champs podcast, we have a special guest, Genaro Martinez. Genaro has an incredible journey and brings a unique perspective to the table. Let's dive right into his experiences, life lessons, and insights as we explore the intersection of youth, sports, community, and mortgage lending. Genaro Martinez, welcome. Pleasure to have you here today. You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
How you doing, Sergio? Yes, my name's Genaro Martinez. Pleasure being here, Sergio. I know this first episode, I'm deeply, it's an honor being here. Like I said, Genaro Martinez, I am one of the managers for Cross Country Mortgage. I have a wide history as far as things I've done. I started in the HEB business at the age of 16. Quickly moved up into management until the age of 19, worked with them for, I was like 30 days shy from 15 years. Then, as my love for basketball has always been there, went into the BISD into coaching. Did that for 12 wonderful years as a teacher / coach. Taught history and math. After 12 wonderful years, merged into the mortgage industry, which we all know has its up and downs, and it's been a great roller coaster ride. And now I've been doing it for about 4.5 years, and led me into here right now. And just recently got promoted into a management position, and we're taking the bull by the horns and running with it. It's been a lot of up and downs right now in the mortgage industry, but we're here to help.
Yeah, I've known you. I had the pleasure. I've known you for a few years already, right? A little bit of going back into what you spoke about, your years in management at HEB. And then I believe we were in school for a short time together at the university, right? And right. How time flies, how time has flown, pre-COVID, post-COVID, right? And just changes. And, everyone lives their life, as best as they can. And you've done a great job, continuing to seek opportunity, the right opportunity. And, with respect, you've done it the right way, and you make sure that everything that you do is the right way at the right time. And you've had great success so far, right? So I just wanted to bring to light, right, some of the experiences that you've had that I think can go hand in hand with not only our business aspect of InCity HotSpots, but also great advice that you've experienced through the youth programs as well, right? You are a father of how many children do you have?
I am a father of 4. I have a 26, a 24, a 19-year-old, and a 13-year-old, which, as you well know, very involved in the sports, in particular basketball. I can tell you that my kids first started playing soccer has always been their first sport. I really feel soccer is a great introduction to any sport for footwork. And I've done a lot of the basketball, traveled all over the United States. I mean, from all the way from Vegas to Florida, Ohio, you name it. Yeah, and any big tournament, I've had the luxury and the privilege, right? My kids being chosen to travel with great teams, right? Through the travel and industry, not always in Bronzeville, I've been selected with other teams. So traveling has been a real big part of my life. It's always a sacrifice whenever you're traveling because, as we know, it gets expensive. But I've had a lot of people help me throughout this trip that I've been having. And right now, I like to help in return. If you're going to see something wrong, we help a lot of the youth right now travel. It's important to me. Basketball got me out of the streets. I'm a kid from Southmost, right? Just trying to live a dream. And I attribute a lot of my success to basketball. And that's one thing I want to leave with the youth of basketball. Any type of sport, right, will give you that type of discipline we need.
Yeah, we've you put in the time, right? Weekend after weekend for so many years. You've been, in the gym. I've asked you numerous times, how do you do it, Genaro, as a parent? how do you do it, weekend after weekend, Friday night, Saturday and Sundays, in the gym? And you're like, Sergio, it's been worth every minute of it, right? It's been worth every second of it, everything that, financially that's gone into it. Like you said, you've traveled a lot and you're like, it's been worth it. It's been worth it. And I pick your brain, right? Because I have a little 8-year-old that's starting to get into the ropes of athletics. And I have a 4-year-old daughter too, that she's starting to get into sports a little bit. So I reach out some counsel here and there, right? I see there's some people that I see live it and experience it. And, it's what perfect opportunity for me to ask, how do you all do it? And you've always had the same answer, right? It's been worth it.
Sure.
We've been consistent, and it just brings out the best. It brings out the best, right? And yes, sports might be temporary, right? As they're growing up, we know that there's more to life than sports. But there's so many life lessons that these kids have learned, and I'm pretty sure you're a testament to that, right? There's so many life lessons that your sons and daughter now is learning as well throughout the years of playing sports. So I'm excited. Thank you for the knowledge, the counsel, the expertise in regards to, has it been worth it? Has it not been worth it? And there's many parents that are in it every weekend after weekend after weekend. I'm like, man, my respects to that. So thank you for that. I want to get into a little bit of let's dive deep a little bit about what you do in the mortgage field. With your background as a certified educator and your transition into the mortgage lending field, how has your previous experience influenced your approach to helping clients navigate the home buying process?
Well, great questions. And I can tell you that this will even go further than even the teaching. I would even attribute back to my HEB days when I quickly got launched into the management position. Learned at 19 a lot. HEB did a very good job with me as far as educating me, investing money in me, as far as in time in me, so I could develop my management skills, which have propelled me into where I'm at right now as a manager. I can tell you that as a teacher, also working with individuals, working with kids, working with adults, parents, and also children, you learn as far as to be, number one, patient, because patient, that's something that you can just snap on the fingers. You got to learn, what do my kids need? What do the principal need? What do the parents want? Right? The wants and needs are very important, which is takes me into the mortgage industry. What do the customers need and what do they want? Everything in the mortgage industry is based on what I want, the $400,000 home, but can I afford it? And that's where we come in. We go dive into the debt to income ratio. My main goal, as far as for students or and then propel it into the customers, is that the mortgage, buying a home, is the most important and the most expensive investment you're going to make probably in your life for most of us, about 90%, right? Some go into a little bit deeper homes than others as far as more expensive, but we need to break it down. What program is there for you? We got VAs, which is for veterans. We got FHA and conventional. So we always have to explain the difference in all these programs, right? And one thing I've learned, that if you are transparent, which is number one since my HEB to the teaching days and my coaching days, if you're transparent and you're honest with them, if you tell them as far as what to expect, if you guide them the right way, because a lot of us do not really know or have any idea about how to go about buying a home versus credits, okay? How many years you have to be in your home. As a working in your job, if I own your own business. So all those are things you don't really learn in school. So when you're going in, you're blindfolded. I mean, what to expect. And that's where we come in. We want to make it a smooth transition as possible. And I think from the HB to the teaching days, it's almost like a big picture. It's like God had a purpose, and okay, I'm going to put you to as a young age as a manager. Then I'm going to put you with you, and then okay, now we're going to go into the numbers part of buying a home. So to me, it all makes sense. It's all like a real big picture. It's a puzzle that's getting put together. So I can tell you that it's a stressful job, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I don't think I'm working. I wake up every day, and even though it's a very demanding, everything's in a time frame, my job is to explain exactly what's going to happen with the 30 days of your purchase. If you don't qualify for whatever reason, develop a plan of action to where we need somehow, some way to get that individual or that couple, the first-time home buyer, into their house. And it might not be a house you're going to keep for 30 years, I tell everybody. It might be your first-time home buying house, and in 4 years, you're going to merge it and you're going to go on another home. So all those are things that people don't know how to approach it. You're buying a $300,000 home. When you come and talk to me, you could tell that, especially the young couples, they have no idea what to do. And there's nothing more fulfilling than to explain the process in the end, saying, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Martinez, for helping us with this, which is just as gratifying as when I taught a student and they would pass the star in math, or you would win the championship, or you would develop an athlete that was from 7th and 8th grade, a B teamer, and you go see him in high school, like, oh my God, this guy's a monster now, right? It's all a process. And I think part of the youth needs to understand that nothing happens overnight. Success is not, you're just not born one day. Nobody picks up a basketball and says, okay, I'm great. That's only the 1%, right? The other 99%, we got to develop our skill and work hard. Same thing whenever you're going to buy, you just don't show up, I want a house. No, there is a process, a 30-day process, might be a 60, a 90-day process. And with proper coaching, with proper guidance, you can reach that ultimate goal, which is either buying a home, buying an investment. Same thing that goes into the teaching. With the proper process, the proper education, you will get to that ultimate goal as far as passing that STAR exam, which is big in that ISD where I was teaching, or into winning that big game, or just actually seeing developing yourself into the person that you want to become. So you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision.
You're absolutely right. Education and teaching, right? Education and teaching, 100%. That's what you do on a daily basis, and I agree. I remember when my wife and I were searching for our home, right? Do we buy or do we build? Do we buy? Do we build? What's the process? I was on my own at the time, and whatever knowledge. It was chaotic for me. It was chaotic, not really having someone that could lead me through the ropes, right? Of all the questions, an educator, a teacher in the mortgage field. Yes, there's a lot out there, but which one do I choose? I didn't have that one person that, I could trust, first of all. People buy from, people buy from people that they know, that they like, and that they trust, right? So especially, like you said, the biggest purchase of a couple, of anyone pretty much in their lifetime is, a residence, right? The purchase of their first or second home or whatever. So I agree, right? Education is always number one. And yes, there's a lot of tools out there that we can learn on our own, but there's nothing like having that person-to-person consultation, right? Counselor, educator, friend that can guide you through the ropes and answer all your questions and just make life a lot easier for you. So,
and I'll tell you one thing, Sergio, when you feel old is when the students I taught, they come and then you're financing their home. I'm like, I know your name. I remember you. And I've already sold easily, or financed, should I say, 20 students that I used to teach in Oliveira or at Cummings or at Vela, the schools. And they said, sir, you were my math teacher. So it's always good for them because they feel very confident. They can just ask me anything, because a lot of people ask me, well, what do you attribute your success to? I'm Genaro. And we talked about this earlier before the show, is I just do the same thing that I've done as an HB, through the teaching, through as far as the mortgage industry. I am who I am. I'm a big jokester. I do take life very serious when it comes to as far as the budgeting in my life, and as far as in my financials. And the same thing, when somebody's buying a home for me, or anybody, I treat it like it's my own son. And that's very important. And you've got to be very transparent. If there's going to be a fee or anything, and you know what this is going to be here, nobody likes surprises in life. So you have to explain every single detail. And I have my phone open till 9 p.m. to my customers, and they know that. I attribute my success a lot to being just available and honest. availability, and just being Genaro. You see me in the street, you're going to see the same thing from me in the street that you're going to see me at work. I am who I am, and I take a lot of pride in what I do, and I've taken a lot of pride when I coach. For those of you that know me, and I mean, it's fun. And life is about having fun, and we take it from there, right?
I agree. You touched base a little bit, and I want you to see if you can elaborate a little bit more. To a follow-up question was, how do you apply your passion for sports, particularly basketball, in your role as a sales manager for Cross Country Mortgage? And the second part of the question would be, are there any parallels between sports and the mortgage lending industry?
Of course. So as far as stay motivated, here's the main thing about sports, and that the transitions into the mortgage industry. You don't always win. That's bottom line. In anything you do in life, there's going to be obstacles that might not always be go your way, right? Same thing in the mortgage industry. You're not going to always get every customer, and that's okay, as long as you put 100% of effort into what you do. In the end of the day, I tell my kids this, and whether you're my son, my daughter, or somebody I'm coaching, if we lost and you did everything in your power to before the game, to prepare yourself for the game, I'm okay with it. And I am not okay with mediocrity as far as you not practicing. And my kids will tell you, this is exactly what I tell them. If you didn't practice before the game and we lost, then you should feel that there's a problem. If you didn't give it all you got, you were just, I call it a social butterfly, just showed up just to talk and everything. No, we're here to compete. And the competition transitions into the mortgage industry because you're competing with other people. You're competing with other lenders. You're competing with other builders. You're competing with a lot of people. And that is part of life. And we have to embrace the competition. I'll give you an example of this. There was, my daughter was in the volleyball competition yesterday. And there was 40 girls. And you look around, there's nothing more intimidating than competition if you haven't channeled your brain the right way. And what I explained to her, because she said, I feel a little bit intimidated. You know what, maybe that's okay to be intimidated, but we got to compete because you're going to have a job interview. And guess what? There's going to be 40 applicants and you need to show up and you need to wire your brain to be okay. And you know what? So you didn't get the job or you didn't get the position. It's okay. Learn from it, move forward, and let's attack it. Let's attack it again. Let's prepare our bodies, our brains into overcoming that fear because a lot of it is fear. Same thing that transition to the mortgage industry. Go make that application, go apply. You might not get the house you want. That's okay. This is part of life. We're learning. I mean, in life, things don't always go your way, but the mental aspect that you develop in sports transitions into everyday life, from a problem that we might be facing in society or a problem that we're facing at work. And the same thing, you stay level grounded. You always stay humble. If you've known all my kids, they've always been humble, regardless of their success or their failures. You got to stay humble because life is up and down. It's a roller coaster ride, and we're here for the ride. Enjoy the ride. Same thing. Transition into the mortgage industry. Work ethic. That's all I can tell you. Sports is work ethic, regardless of what you do. I've always told my kids, you're going to clean a restroom. You be the best person cleaning that restroom. Take pride in what you do. That's what I try to instill in my kids. And I attribute that a lot of success from the sports aspect that has transitioned into the everyday life. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been very successful in the mortgage industry. I've shattered numbers that I didn't know I could do. But I can tell you one thing. I told my wife when I got this job, I said, I'm going to kick butt. Before I even started, it was intimidating in the beginning. First year, you're learning. And fast forward 4.5 years from now, still having record numbers. But it's not always easy. My favorite saying in my household is, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You can ask all my kids. I tell them that. And it's the truth. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody has the capacity and the ability to do whatever they want to do. It's just a matter of taking action. Everybody can be a great basketball player, a great soccer, but what does it take? Determination. Same thing and it'll transcend into the work industry. And that's one of the reasons I think I've been very successful. Coming from a kid from South Most, I had a lot of great guidance from my family, but basketball really, really taught me to be strong, mentally minded. to me, that's my success story and what I try to give not only my family, but the kids that I've coached throughout the years.
I agree. I mean, that is some great info, pieces of gems that you just gave out, right? And which is, there's a lot of truth to everything that you just said. And, it's just something about the game of basketball that it's just, there's so many plays, right? It's like you make a mistake, it's like, okay, forget about it. Move on to the next play. Forget about it. Move on to the next play. You made a mistake, you turn over the ball, you miss a shot, get the next shot. It builds confidence. It allows you to not take things personal in life. When you lose, like you said, when you win, it's fun in games. But when you lose, I think that game of basketball just allows you to like continue, like just get the next one. I'm gonna hit the next one. I'm gonna hit the next jump shot. I'm gonna hit the next 3-point shot. I went 0 for 10. I'm gonna hit that 11th one. And once you hit that 11th one, guess what happens? Number 12 goes in, number 13 goes in, and you get back on track. And the consistency and the numbers, and it's those are all life lessons. And I don't know, it's just maybe that's why we have such a passion for basketball, because whether you play the game, I officiate a little bit of basketball for a couple of years, and even that, we don't make the perfect calls 100% of the time. But I don't have time to be dwelling on that one call. I'm moving on to the next call. I'm gonna get the next one right, and I'm gonna get the next one right, and so on. So I just think that sport just allows an individual, especially if they're able to start experiencing that at such a young age. Like some of your kids started playing at the age of 5, right? 4 years old. So how many plays did they experience throughout their 18 years of life? How many times did they fail? How many times did they have success? How many, at the end of the day, by the time they're out of high school, they're like, you know what? Nah, I can handle this. Everything that dad told me, now I understand. I understand. I'm gonna fail in life after high school, after college. Not a problem. I'll get the next one. And it's just
called the goalie mentality. They score on you, Sergio. You know what? It happened. Let me move forward. It doesn't matter, because there's still a future. There's a lot of game to play. Don't dwell on it. Same thing's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen in life, and it happens in sports.
Yeah. Jobs, you're battling for a job. You might not get it, and you'll, apply again, and you'll get the next one. So those are great. That was some great info that you shared there. I like that, Genaro. Moving on. In what ways do you go above and beyond to support your clients, ensuring that they have a smooth and positive experience throughout the mortgage process?
The main thing is patience and explaining everything in detail. That is one of the things. The mortgage industry is a business. We all know that. So the way I wanted to make it different than just going in there, sitting down with your lender, going through the steps is, okay, so you got approved. All right, that's great. Congratulations. That's the easy part. Now, how do we go above and beyond? Well, you get emails that you're supposed to turn in these docs or whatever the case may be. Well, we've done, what I do is I actually build that relationship with a client. And for that, it's me and my team, because thank God I have a team now. That's the main reason. And with that said, in sports, what do we need to win? A team. So we've developed a team to where they're going to help us get to that finish line and win. And when we win is get to the finish line and help that customer. Information is super important. Being detailed in the information and being very precise as far as what they need. If sometimes the customer might be at work and they can't turn in some documents. Well, I go to their work and I pick up the documents. Some people are not very computer techy. And you know what? I have the paychecks. I'll send one of my team members, go get it. And I want to always be different than everybody else in everything I've always done. I've never wanted to be the average lender, never be the average manager in HB. I've never been one of the average teacher, right? So, because I like winning, and that I attribute winning to getting the job done, going above and beyond as far as always being there for the customer, even at 9 p.m. One thing, and I've always told my wife when I told her, look, I'm going to be available for the customer all the way to 9 p.m. because it's important. Because when do you have a chance to talk? After work? Yeah. So the average individual gets out teachers 3:30. The average, because some of us do tutorial and then the coaching. So you end up getting out at 7. So we'll open up that office for them at 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We understand weekends. I just met with 2 people today on a Sunday, and that's okay. I met with a builder on a Saturday. So above and beyond for me, it's availability, being there for the customer. And that comes through work ethic, because once again, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You have to be there for them. You have to be, and always you have to have a clear expectation. You have to coach them. That's what I'm doing. I'm coaching customer as far as what to do. And you're not always going to tell them to shoot the three from now. Hey, you know what? Let's see. What do we got to work with? What are their skills? What are their strengths? Well, and then we work from there. So that's one of the main reasons. Always availability has always been the main thing for me.
Yeah, going above and beyond, like you said, going above and beyond leaves a lasting impression. And like you said, some of us buy the first home and we're going to buy a second home later on. We're going to want something bigger and better down the road. That's how we live our life. Some of us live our life, right? We want, what did we do yesterday? And what can we do today? What did we not do yesterday that we can better do today? Right? And what do we have right now that we strive for? It's always about striving to be a better person. Materialistic things do come and go. But how do we grow as a person? How do we get better with our finances? How do we get our credit scores better? How do we budget our finances better? Especially once you start having kids, and now it's a different ballgame. Now you're not only a father, but you're a husband, and being able to experience a home, the purchasing of a home, somebody that goes over and beyond and offers the services on the weekends and late into the evening. It does leave a lasting impression. And once that second home needs to be purchased, who are you going to come to? They're going to remember that person, right?
Yeah, there's no more powerful commercial than the word of mouth. Because the main reason I've gotten a lot of business and I've gotten very successful is because Sergio might tell their tío, how many times are we not in the cookout? Oh, I'm buying a home. Who's your lender? Well, my lender didn't help me do this. These are actual conversations. And the biggest reward for me, and no, my lender did this for me. And the same customers in the contract right now will come, hey, you know what? My friend is in the contract. They're not answering their phone. So I'm referring you to them. You have no idea, Sergio, how many, as far as referrals have gotten from other people. I attribute all that to being, as far as always, very transparent, being out there being for the customer, and always be honest. Go above and beyond for them, because not everybody has the same time schedule that we have. We want to go 9 to 5. No, some people work overnight. So being available and being transparent is very important, and above and beyond for sure.
I agree. In continuation a little bit with going above and beyond, how do you approach educating your clients about mortgage options and ensuring that they make informed decisions that align with their financial goals and aspirations?
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the game of basketball with this. Whenever you interview a client, I just think about a brand new basketball player. You got to find out as far as what they're good at. What's their strength? Same thing in the mortgage industry. Okay, so what do we got to work with? That's great. So you don't have great credit. That's okay. Nothing wrong with life. Nothing wrong with that part of life. How do we correct it? How do we approach it? And that's going to take through what? We got to have to actually, there's a process. Same thing, a developing process, which is like teaching a kid how to dribble a basketball. You're not just born with great credit. You're not just born with dribbling skills. It's something that's helped step by step by step. So to me, it all makes sense. I use the analogy of sports so much because basketball teaches you how to actually handle all these situations, as far as always helping the customer with the step-by-step. Let's start with credit, and then let's start with as far as their debt to income. And what do they need? What do they want? What can they afford? And if they're not there, let's give them a plan of action. This is, if you come to me in 2-3 months, if you fix this, then you're going to be a starter, which means to me that then you're going to get your home. Same thing, just because you don't get it right now, it doesn't mean you're not going to get it in 3 months. Same thing with athletes. Just because you don't start right now, and you've seen this from a lot of basketball players, a lot of athletes, they're middle school kid, they were not that good. They started, they stuck to the process, and now they achieve their ultimate goal, which is they're starters now. Same thing. You achieve the ultimate goal as far as in the mortgage industry by following the process. A lot of it comes from not knowing what to do and where to start. That's where I come as a mortgage lender, as a coach. That's what I do. I really coach people how to get their homes.
And the going back, touching base as far as you're tying it into basketball. It's not. There's a how do you say? There's a common term that's used, and they're like it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? And you got to do the little things consistently, day after day, and eventually the day's gonna come where you're gonna check off all the things that are needed, and bam, you're able to get the home of your dreams finally, right?
It's talent. That's when you have the cookout. When you eat talent.
Yeah. The so people that have struggled, I'm pretty sure you've seen, that you've coached them along the ways. Now, can you share a success story of everything that you spoke about, of a client you have worked with where you were able to help them overcome their challenges and achieve their home ownership dreams?
Of course. I had actually, and he was actually one of my ex-students. I'm not going to mention any names, but individual came to me with a low credit score. So he was real down, and I actually saw him in a restaurant, and he saw me say, you know what, coach, because a lot of people still call me coach, believe it or not, which I take a lot of pride in that. It's almost as satisfying as being called dad, because you are their father in a way. You were helping them out throughout the whole ordeal as far as development. So he said, you know what, I don't have good credit, but I really want a house. I just got married. I'm shaping up. I messed up I made a mistake. I messed up my credit in the past. So I said, you know what, let's start. Apply first. Let me see what I'm working with. In other words, let me see you practice. Let me see what you need help in. Same thing. Took us 8 months. And I told him, look, if you follow this plan of action, I promise you, you're going to get, but you got to follow it. You can't just say, yes, coach, and then go home and not pay your bills on time, not pay all these debts, right? And the reason I was so happy with that individual, because here's a kid that made a mistake. And you know what, Sergio? We all make mistakes. We all miss a payment. We all make mistakes in one way or the other. But I think he was mentally ready to shape up and say, you know what, I want a house. I have a kid now. So it took us 8.5 to 9 months. Got that kid up there to the credit he needed to get a house, right? Got him a realtor, got into the house. And I don't go to many closings because as lenders, we don't go to closings. It's usually realtors that are there. I went to this particular closing because it was very special. It was not a sprint. It was a marathon, exactly what you said. It took time, but he trusted the process. As Joel Embiid says, right? You got to trust the process. And he developed, he actually obtained his American dream of having a home. When I went to the closing, the kid cried and made me cry. It still gives me chills and shivers because here's a kid that all he needed was guidance, made some mistake. And he had got with other lenders that, unfortunately, some people don't give you the time of day when you have bad credit. And that's okay. They're still human beings. They just don't take things seriously, or something happens throughout your time that either you lose your homes, death in the family, and you get bad credit. But that's okay. We are in the United States of America where everybody gets a second chance. And the same thing goes for sports. You're going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter. You have to train your brain to stay eyes on the prize. That's what I always tell the kids. Keep your eyes on the prize. So you're not going to get there by sprinting. All right. If you get there, you're going to get tired. You're a marathon. It's a marathon. It's going to take you a while. So that's my biggest success. I still remember that particular transaction because it really did mean a lot to me. Because here's a kid, nobody gave him a chance. Told me, you know what, sir, I don't think I'm ever going to get one. And he said, well, let's follow a pattern. Let's follow a plan. And he was coached. That's what I attribute to. I coached him up, he said, and I'll tell you what, he sent me so many customers without me even knowing. I'm like, hey, don't coach. And a lot of people call me Coach Martinez, right? And obviously that always helps, right? Getting so I can feed my own family. But when you do something, it's got to be from the kindness of your heart. To me, like I said, even though it's a business, it comes natural to me to wanting to help and coach somebody to get their American dream, right? Of a house.
I agree. And, I think that there could always be an improvement on educating these men, these women at a younger age, these boys, these girls at a younger age, right? About finances and about, home ownership, and about a lot of times the education starts, like you said, when they're ready to buy a house.
Yeah.
And now it delays the process, and sometimes they want to sprint for that goal. But if they could have played the marathon game early on in middle school and in high school. I remember, I'm going to tie this up because you and I taught at a middle school, at the same middle school for a couple of years. And we were more than just coaches to these boys. These were boys that were coming, because we had the boys athletics, right? So these were boys that were coming from, they were crossing from across the bridge. They were coming in from Mexico on a daily basis, and sports was the only thing that they had going for them. So we were more than coaches. We were, a lot of them didn't have a father in their lives. So not only were we coaches to them, we were fatherly figures. We were counselors to them, and we were the one and only person sometimes that they could come and trust. Sometimes they would hesitate to go to an actual counselor or an administrator, and they feel more comfortable coming to coach, right? Because we're more of a fatherly figure. So even more reason how there could always be, I know when I was there at that time, I was always teaching life lessons without me. And now I think about it, I'm like, man, yeah, I taught so many life lessons not even knowing about it, right? And I'm pretty sure you had that same experience with that same type of group, right, of athletes that we had. It was a very rewarding feeling at the end of every year, because these boys were coming to us, from rough neighborhoods, discipline problems, and we were able to be a positive impact in their lives. Yeah. And if now I think about it, man, if I could have taught some of these kids a little bit more about finances, a little bit more about home ownership, a little bit. I remember some of the kids at the age of 13, 14, they were already striving to go into the profession, and being a barber was high on that list. A lot of those boys wanted to be a barber as soon as they got out of high school. So anyways, I think there could always be an earlier start, and I think there is a lack of in our system, right, of educating,
for sure, 100%.
People, at an earlier age, so there'll be more potential clients ready to go, ready to fire away, pull the trigger on purchasing a home, and purchasing a car or whatever other big expenses that we have, right? There could always be better education, better counselors, better coaching, and
on life lessons that like balancing your checkbook. And that's when I taught math. That's one of the main things I would tell them. Okay, so everybody wants to buy a home, but when are you ready to buy a home? What's expected to you? I mean, everybody says, well, I'm going to buy a home for $300,000. Okay, that's great. But what comes with a home? Insurance, light bill, right? Cable, internet. So you have to draw everything up. And in the end of the day, it's math. Do I have money left over to live regular life? And I think that's one of the main things. I had a lot of success in math whenever we were teaching, because you got to tie it into real life situations, because life will hit you hard. There's no better education, and everybody will tell you this, than life itself. College is great. I was very lucky to have my 4 years in college, but life has a different outlook as far as an education. They're going to teach you the hard way if you don't learn. And I think a lot of the students don't understand the financial part as far as obtaining things in interest. How interest affects us tremendously. From giving a minimum payment, you're never going to pay it. A credit card, student loans, we've all been there. And I didn't have anybody to educate me on student loans and whether it was good or not, and little things like that. That right now, you don't shut me up on it. I talk about it a lot, because kids need to learn financials when it comes to that part of aspect of their accountability, right? As far as money wise,
debt to income ratio, right? It's a big one.
Everything's about debt to income. Everything's a debt to income. Every loan has its own debt to income. And even when I see a student or a customer that's buying a home and they're very tight in their debt to income ratio, I tell them, okay, you want to maximize your debt to income, but understand it's leaving you very little wiggle room for other things. Okay. And the main thing I see is that big car payment. I want to tell students, don't go in for that big truck, that big SUV. I'll tell you, all my kids have Honda Civics. I tell them, look, we're not going to buy you an expensive car. You're going to get a Honda Civic. You're going to learn that, number one, you waste very little gas, right? And it's a small car payment. Instead of going the other way around, you get a job, and you've had plenty of friends that buy a big truck. And that's great, but it just cripples you when you want to buy that house when under your credit, because everything's about debt to income. It lowers down your buying power. So if anybody would tell these kids that, I think it'll go a long way. And that's what we're here for.
And in continuation on that, what advice would you give to individuals who are considering entering the real estate market for the first time and may be unsure about the mortgage lending process? You touched a little bit about it, but
Okay.
what would be like the first, like your top 5 pieces of advice that you would give the first time buyers?
Number one, make your payments on time. That is the most important. So whenever you, the better your credit, Sergio, the better the interest rate. And especially right now in this volatile market right now, the interest rates, I don't want to say they're high, but they're what they used to be back then, because we were a little bit spoiled with the COVID, with those 3% and 2%. Those are not going to come anytime soon. I hope they do. I want to be positive about it, but we're going to be at the 6s and the 5s and the 7s for the most. So that's what the norm is, right, for us. Now, making your payments in time has got to be for sure the first one. And whenever getting a job is, do not get that big car payment. Don't get that Beamer. I always tell the kids, you don't need the truck. You don't need, and I'm sorry, you don't need that $1,000 truck payment, $1,200 payment, because that $1,000 eats up $2,000 of your salary. That's what I tell everybody. So right off the bat, if you make $5,000, you can't use $2,000 of them. You only have $3,000 left. That's number 2. Number 3 is going to be, try to get, I always tell everybody, your first investment, and it was my first investment, should be a 4-plex or a duplex. For me, why I did it also when I was young, I still have them. Why? Because the FHA, and I explain that to a lot of people, you can live in one and have 3 other pay your rent. And a year or 2 years later, when you're doing a little bit better financially, you can rent that out, and right now it pays my kids' tuition in college. So that was my first, my dad taught me that at a very young age. I had that luxury. So he said, you know what, son, you're working at HEB, you're better starting, buy a 4-plex. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is, once you obtain a house, or you're obtaining a house, don't go for the kill. Take your time, do your homework in real estate, get yourself a good realtor. And if you don't have one, we can always refer you to one. Where you buy, the reason I want you to get a good realtor is, location is everything in real estate. If you're going to buy something, try to get in a good location, because real estate really doesn't lose value. I mean, as we can see, it only gains value. I always say it's almost better than a stock, an investment or 401, because it really gains a lot of value. But more than anything, and the better the location, the more it's going to be worth in the future. It's all about location, right? And the 5th one is that I'm going to tell you is, whenever you buy a home, is learn that marry the house, not the interest rates. Okay, that's the main thing. A lot of people say, well, sir, I have a 6.75, it's too high. No, marry the home. You can always refinance. That's the beautiful thing. And I always tell my customer, look at the difference in payment from a 5.75 to a 6.75. It might be $130. Don't let go of your home for $130. Yes, is it $130? Yes, but that's the way the market is, and we're not going to change it. There's nothing we can do to change it. So the 5th one is, marry the house, not the interest rate. You're going to refinance. Just make your payments on time. If you have a low credit score, as you make your payments on time, the interest rate's going to change, because we're going to refinance it for you. So those are 5 little topics that I think hit home for everybody. And those are common mistakes that people do whenever they're purchasing a home, that they think about other things.
You touch base right now on where the market is right now, where the interest rates are right now. How do you stay current with the ever-changing landscape of the mortgage industry, and how does that knowledge benefit your clients?
Well, I'm very blessed that I work for a great company, and work for a great company that keeps us up to date every Monday as the market changes. Or I'll give you an example. I think this past, what are we today? We are Sunday. I think on last week on a Friday, interest rates went up 1/4 of a point, and they just send that information to us. Now it's up to me to read the email. It's up to me to further educate myself. But one thing's for sure is the company I work for right now, and then the previous one I also worked for, they do a very good job as far as keeping us up to date with the market. They want us to know what's going on, because there's no worse feeling than going and sitting with a customer and not knowing your stuff. Kind of like teaching math and not knowing math. Same thing. You have to put in the work. You have to be disciplined and stay up with the new programs and down payment assistance, the VA programs for veterans, the conventional loans and the FHA loans. It's always changing. We live in a society where everything changes, and we have to adapt. I mean, it's like a computer. You buy a computer, and in a month there's a new computer that just came out, so it's all obsolete. You don't want to be selling a program that is no longer valid or good, because our duty as a lender is to stay on top of the market, and that most of the time is provided for. There are a lot of government web pages, for example, for the government, for FHA, for VAs, that we can always read and stay up to date. But for the most part, that information is provided to us by the company, and we have to just implement it on the new programs that are out there. So that's always a blessing, having a good leader out there and being coached, right? Because now they're coaching me, and now it's up to me as the athlete or the employee now, as far as to put in my work to learn.
So never settle into a comfort zone, because
Never.
it's, everything's changing, technology's changing, systems are changing, processes are changing, and when we reach a point in time where we might think that we've mastered it or we know it all, right? Mm-hmm. That's where we kind of get into a comfort zone. But
yeah,
everything that we do in life, I agree, right? Continue striving, continue learning, and continue educating ourselves so we can continue teaching.
Of course. And I said in the beginning of the show, don't settle for mediocrity. That's what I tell the kids. It's very easy to be complacent. It's so easy to just lay down. Let me go watch TV for 2 hours. You have homework to do, same thing. Be disciplined. Do your homework first, and then enjoy the benefit out of doing your homework. Same thing if I have a job. Don't be mediocre, right, in anything you do.
What do you enjoy most about your role as a sales manager in the mortgage lending field, and what motivates you to continue making a positive impact in the lives of your clients and the community?
Okay, that's one. I take a lot of pride in coaching, and as a manager, that's what you do. You coach. Now, here's one thing. You don't always know it all. As a coach, you don't know it all. And how many times are you watching TV and you see a damn great play and you say, you know what? Pause it. I want that play to implement it to one of my kids. Same thing as a lender. You don't have to know everything. And I think it's a misconception in life that as a leader, people think that you know everything. No. I think as a leader, you are a resource, right, to people. And there's also another resource for me where I can get more answers. And there'll be plenty of times that I have one of the people that we manage as far as in the lending industry, and they'll say, Genaro, I don't understand this file, and I don't understand it either. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't know, but hold on. Let me get somebody that can further assist us as far as in corporate or whatever the case may be. But it's just leading that person to the finish line. As far as in the mortgage industry, to get that file done. As far as for the employee, that's what I'm talking right now. And let them know it's okay not to know everything. Because sometimes as leaders, we get caught up in, I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to know everything. No, you're not. As a leader, you're supposed to guide people to become better individuals. And at the same time, they make us better sometimes, because we're going to make mistakes too as individuals. We're human. But how do you reset? Okay, you know what? This happened in this file. Learn from this file for the next file. So now, this is for the employee. As a customer, same thing. We're coaching them up. That's really what it boils down to. What I like about being a leader, as far as the ability to being able to find a solution to the problem. As with tenure, comes a little bit more of the knowledge, right? And that knowledge you apply to help the customer. And there's nothing more rewarding than to get that person to the finish line, which is buying a house. It's a very fulfilling, makes me happy, because we all remember those of you that have had the luxury of purchasing a home, How do they feel when you close in a house? You want to jump for joy. I mean, you just won the championship right there. You're it. You're an NBA Finals, right? MVP. So there's no better feeling than for you to lead that, because you were the coach. That's what you did. You coached them up. You didn't do anything different but coaching and telling them what to do, where to put the pieces.
So yeah, you experience that what a coach experiences from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, right? The beginning of the buying process to the finish line. I agree. It must be a very I can probably relate a little bit of how it feels, right? To be on the other end of that, of, I was a part of that. I was a part of that. And it's just, it continues to drive. Okay, who else can I help? Who else can I help? And you're assisting people, make their dreams come true, right? Make their dreams come true. So helping people make their dreams come true. What about on the business side, as far as like, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who aspire to make a difference in their communities, just like you have in the mortgage lending field?
Well, in the community, I'm going to tell you why I started this basketball. I'm going to go back to basketball. So why did I start traveling with kids? Everybody asks, well, how did you get into the traveling? Well, I'm going to tell you a true story. When I played for Porter, and I'm never going to forget when I was in the All-Stars as a junior and senior. We went to Austin, and I was intimidated because I saw a bunch of athletes, and it's not that they were better than me, but I had never been exposed to that type of competition. That really boils down to, because it's one thing to show up in the Gonzalez Park, which me and you both know we can show up, we can hoop and everything. But now we're going into we're going to Austin. We're going to play different individuals with different race, different color, different athletic abilities, right? Just different. And here you are, kid from Southmost trying to shoot the ball, and I could do it. You had a mental block. And when I had my kids, I told my wife, I don't want my kids to have that mental block, because that's all it was. It was just your brain not programmed appropriately. So when I started the basketball journey, I had my kids. I started traveling with all my kids at a very young age, 6, 7 years old. But it was always with a purpose. It wasn't just traveling without practicing. And my kids have had a lot of success. I mean, I've had two of them that one of them just going to play college ball, one of them that went to play college ball also as well. And I attribute that just to their knowledge. They weren't the biggest, they weren't the strongest, but they sure as heck had a lot of heart, and they were not intimidated by the opposition, right? So how do I attribute that to back? So this is why I started with the traveling, because I wanted to expose not only my kids, but other kids from the Valley to go in when you travel. And you could tell the difference. One of the first classes I had as a freshman, I would say about 70% played varsity. Not because they were big, not because they were strong, but I think because under pressure situations, they were able to excel or help the team. They weren't always the man, but they helped, they contributed to part of, and they didn't have that mental block, which sometimes as a freshman and sophomore, you lack it and you get it as a junior and senior. So I've just introduced them to a lot more failures at a young age. That way, when they get to high school, and you know what, they were ready, mentally ready. So the same thing goes for work. I mean, you're not always going to be the best. As long as you have the good work ethic and understand that you are going to make mistakes and you are going to fail, it'll transition into life. That's the brain, to me, is very important. It's something I talk about a lot.
I like that. In continuation, you spoke a little bit about your kids, right, and the travel. I could also include keeping your composure is huge, right? It's huge, especially in business, right? When things don't go your way, overreacting, keeping your composure. As a coach, as you coaching your sons, they have had success. They've been, one either the top player on their team or one of the two top players on their teams, right, throughout the years. So I had a great opportunity to officiate many of their basketball games at the high school level, right, in the varsity games. And one thing for sure is they always kept their composure. They always were respectful to their coaches.
Sure.
to the
They had
to the officials, right? Even when things didn't go their way. I mean, there was times where, they get hit, maliciously by another player, and whether we came in with an intentional foul or intentional flagrant, or I mean, they always kept their composure. They always, okay, we're gonna give benefit of the doubt to the officials that they're gonna take care of what they need to do, and I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt to my coach that he's gonna take care of us and fight for us and defend us. And a lot of times right now, especially in the days that we live in right now, a lot of players throughout the nation, there's a lot of entitlement going on, and a lot of these number one and number two players on these teams, they feel entitled that they can be disrespectful to their coaches, they can be disrespectful to the officials, and it's just it's a little bit it's getting bad as the years go on, and a lot of it is entitlement. And being able to continue yourself as not only as a father, as a coach, keeping your composure in business and in life is going to play a big part when they get to play with the big boys. In the big boys, as far as getting into the real world, right? When push comes to shove, in a job, you're real problems working with corporate America. How are you going to handle dealing with your supervisor? Are you going to keep your composure, or are you going to be disrespectful? How are you going to treat your colleagues? Right? Are you going to keep your composure, or are you going to be... So keeping your composure, learning how to keep your composure at an early age, lifelong skills that you've taught your kids, is going to carry over and does carry over, not only for your kids, but to everyone as well, right? So these are great lessons that just continue giving strength to why sports, youth programs are doing a great job in developing most of our kids the right way. So there's, I think the right way, there's a bigger positive light outcome. I would say 80% is developing kids the right way. There's still that 20% that, the entitlement, coaches that are not, setting the right example because probably their experiences, they didn't have that right mentor or coach growing up. And there's two ways. There's two ways to the road. It's the right way and the wrong way. And it's going to carry over for the remainder of their lives. And I like that.
And as a parent said here, there was never a better compliment to me. And I'll give an example on Jerry. I mean, obviously he had a very blessed 4-year career, right, from making multiple MVPs and stuff. But if one thing you can never say about Jerry, you can never question, is his respect towards the game, regardless of him being the top player at times in the whole Valley, right, to being the top 5th player and the top 5 players in the Valley. He never disrespected anybody, and he was always humble. He was not one... none of my kids have ever posted stuff on social media. I'm not a big social media for kids. As it is, it gets grown-ups in trouble to begin with. Now, as far as talking trash, all that stuff, and I think it all starts, to me, in the house. You can go to them right now and you can see their social media. They don't post on social media because it just gets you into trouble sometimes, unfortunately, right? Or being a top player in the Valley, and Gabriel was one of my elite players also, is sometimes you're opening yourself as a target, and the more stuff you post, you become a target. And that's going to happen in life also. There's an old saying in business that you never write an email when you're upset, because you don't want to attach feelings into that email. And that's the same thing in the basketball court. Being the top player in the Valley is great, but it comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of people that want that position. And they want that position that you have of being the number 1 player in the Valley. And some go about it an ethical way, and some people don't go from a flagrant foul. So how do you stay composed during that push comes to shove? And I got to see it a lot. And I'm going back to 4 years with Jerry because he's my latest one that graduated. Never saw him. If you would look at him, he would just go about the game like, I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to kick some butt. I am here. There was a certain swagger about him that he knew he was in charge, but he didn't have to tell anybody he's in charge. He just demanded that respect. And in the end of the day, the athletes, when you and I always tell my kids this, in the end of the day, when you graduate from high school, all those guys you competed, because that's what we were doing. We're competing with these people, are your friends. At that point in time, one time, one of my kids said, I hate that guy. No, you don't. You are competing against him. But if I don't correct that word you're saying hate, it's going to turn into hate. No, you want to kick his butt in the court. You want to win. That's it. But outside the rectangle, son, he's your friend. Right now, we want to go at it. And that's the same thing in work. We're competing. You're going to have the opposition on the other side. And there's nothing wrong. So teach them how to compete. And one thing I've always posted on social media is teach kids how to compete, because life is a competition, and teach them how to react. And that's one thing I've been proud of all my kids. I can say very proudly is they never had altercation, never got in trouble, but it was always me on it. And you have to be on it. And you say, how do you do it? I don't even know how I found enough hours during the day, right? And now I'm transitioning from the boys into the girls. So now I'm a girl dad. So it's started now I'm a volleyball. Now I get to yell and scream at volleyball and basketball. So and the same thing, we had a big conversation. I told you yesterday, I'm competing with my kids. And one thing you learn in my family is we sit down together and we criticize each other in a good way, constructive criticism. Learn to teach your kids that, because they're going to do that at work. So I'm going to criticize you because I want you better. The minute I stop telling you what you can get good at, I've already failed you. The same thing, if one of your bosses is telling you what to do, they're doing it for a good reason, right? Learn that. Accept that constructive criticism, because that is also part of life, right?
Be coachable.
Yeah, be coachable.
Be coachable. Talking about legacies, right? Kids leaving legacies at an early age. Fathers leaving legacies. What about you, Genaro? What legacy do you hope to leave behind in terms of your impact on the youth and community through your work in the mortgage industry?
Well, through the mortgage industry, the one thing is I want to always help kids travel. I'm big on traveling. My legacy is always did the right thing for people, did the right thing for my kids, right? Always was transparent. I wanted people to know me as a jokester. Everybody that knows me will understand in life, Sergio, you got to have fun. We're only here for borrowed time. You probably know, but I had a heart attack 2-3 years ago through COVID. And that also changes everything, the way you approach things. So legacy are my kids. That's the legacy as far as in my family. I'm leaving the legacy to our kids that are very well respected. They're great human beings. And I want them to help other kids as I helped other kids and I helped them, because it's a lot of fun. Now in the mortgage industry, same thing. I want to be transparent. I want people to know that when I did something, it was from the heart. Now, obviously it's a business. We all have to make money, but at the same time, I always gave value to the service that I was providing for my customers. And I was always transparent with them. It's very important. And I always took my time to explain the situation, because there's nothing worse in life if you're going to go all the way to the finish line and you don't know how you got there, or you don't know, you know what, I just ran the race. No, there was a process. I would like to explain the process as far as to individuals, but legacy, there's no bigger legacy I want to leave behind than my own kids, right? I mean, they're an image of me. So when I always tell this to my kids, when you're out in the street, you're also representing me, right? The same thing. When I'm out on the street, I represent Cross Country Mortgage, right? I mean, I represent them. You do it with pride, do it with joy, have fun in what you do, right? So legacy is very important to me. I hope when it's all said and done and I pass away, they're going to see, you know what, here, there's people still call me. I got realtors that I coach their kids and they still call me coach. So there's no better words, right, than to me, than being called the coach. And that is legacy itself, right? Because at that point in time, that's like being called dad, because you helped. Kids are clay. You're molded into what you want. So it's up to you to mold them and to coach them the right way, right? To compete. That's it. You have to compete in life.
Oh man, it's some great information, great info that you brought to the table today, and great job. I mean, I'm just, I absorbed a lot of information myself and some good stuff, good info, Genaro. I appreciate the time that you joined us. Right before we log off, just some questions for fun, right? Just between for us in the community that we've been asking some of our guests. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Phone call or text?
Phone call.
Summer or winter?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with summer right now. I like the beach.
Summer. Comedy or drama?
Oh, comedy, 100% every day.
Rain or sunshine?
Sunshine,
Chocolate or vanilla?
vanilla.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird, but by 5 a.m. I'm an early bird. I'm done by 8 p.m. I'm done by 9. That's it. I'm an old geezer now.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. Genaro, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time and for being part of our first business podcast. So the first of many, and we will definitely do a round 2, right? There's always more to talk about. There's always great lessons to teach the kids and to teach the community, right? Whether we're young or small, it's just sharing our experiences is all we're doing, right? Sharing we might not consider ourselves experts, but we consider ourselves. I like to think of it as enthusiasts, right? So you're a mortgage enthusiast, and you're just bringing your experiences that you've had, and thank you, very impactful. To be continued, and we'll do it again.
Thank you, Pedro. It's been a pleasure being here. I mean, it's an honor being your first guest. Looking forward to being here again, to be honest with you. And I appreciate everything you're doing for the community. Let me tell you, we need more people like you. We need people spreading the wealth. We need people educating the youth, because in the end of the day, that is what we got. We have what's the right word? I want to use that. And there is a demand for people to help and develop kids and help them become better adults. Because in the end of the day, when we pass, we want to leave that seed with somebody else. And you know what? This individual helped me. And there's nothing more powerful than when a kid is a grown man bringing up their family and said, "Coach, because of you, I am where I am." And that's a very powerful statement. And that's something we have to continue. And you're doing a very good job. Keep spreading the word around. So, man, let's continue growing.
Appreciate it, Genaro. Thank you for your kind words. And yeah, we're just trying to, exactly what you said, build a platform for our kids, and who can we bring together to continue. It's all about a team, right? And I can't do this myself. I know that, and I know that the more of us that can join, and we can make this a bigger community, the more we can do for the kids. So thank you for your kind words. We are groundbreaking right now, and the sky's the limit. We just want to continue pushing forward, and I say, why not? Why not? We have the tools, we have the technology, we have the resources, we have plenty of people in our network that can continue being a mentor to our youth. Why not? Let's continue, right? So appreciate it.
Don't be mediocre and compete. 2 things.
I like that. All right, Genaro, appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we will talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.